Hey, deserving listeners, 90-Day Fiancé, The Last Resort. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. This is the Psychology in Seattle YouTube channel. Keep in mind that everything I say, it's really just complete speculation based on the edit, so let's watch.
Anyone who was an angel, innocence, and just y'all been bad.
First of all, I'm not going to get upset or listen to any of this until I hear from Jovi why you have the nerve to ask both of us to lie for you.
And then
Michael wants to tell Jovi something.
Okay, so Liz is addressing the triangle I talked about earlier in a previous video regarding how Jovi triangulated Ed and Liz into their conflict by lying to Yara and making Liz and Ed lie for him. So he triangulated them into it, and she's confronting that. That is one of the effective ways to differentiate yourself and to differentiate a system, is to call it out, to say, hey, you did this thing, especially if Yara is sitting right there, right? It's like everyone's here. And that's why for relational therapists like myself, we will often, not all the time, but depending, bring everybody into the session so everyone can hear it. Because I'm sure you've been in situations where someone says, well, he said, and you weren't there. And then someone else says, no, what happened was, and you just don't know, right? So if everyone's there, then everyone gets to see it, and everyone has to consider other people's feelings when they say, and they have to say things at least while the other person is in the room. If someone says, like if Liz had gone to Yara and said, I can't believe Jovi triangulated us and made us lie for him. Well, now Yara is triangulated into the conflict between Liz and Jovi. So Liz is going directly to Jovi in the presence of Yara while Ed is there, and it gives everyone a chance to, well, what it gives everyone a chance to do is to resolve the conflict if they're capable of that, but it depends on the system. But also what it tends to do, if you're in the Liz position, is it sends the message that you are not to be triangulated, that you don't participate well in those kinds of triangulations. And so the next time Jovi does something like this, which I can't imagine because I don't think this is going to happen again, but that Jovi wouldn't rely on Ed and on Liz to be reliable triangulated thirds. And therefore, for yourself, you are now more differentiated because people aren't trying to pull you in as often, right? You're not being challenged, because differentiation isn't the ability to withstand all circumstances. It's the ability to, most of the time, be able to handle most situations. But everyone, regardless of how differentiated they are, under pretty normal, like one of the things that, this is the, at least the apocryphal, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but the quote that I always say that Bowen talked about, or I don't know if it's Bowen, but the idea still stands that the most differentiated person, the most healthy person, when they go back for a family get-together like Thanksgiving or something, they will be able to remain differentiated for a maximum amount of 30 minutes. Past that point, regardless of how healthy and mature you are, you will lose differentiation, at least to some extent. So the expectation is not that we have the ability to withstand these triangulations, but we have the ability to think about the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that if I extract myself from the triangles permanently, then I won't have to be challenged anymore, and I will be able to operate from a more differentiated place because I'm not under constant threat, right?
Get mad on Michael, and he wasn't good, He was trying to hide it from me that they go into the
Wait, say again what you said? Yara, shut up.
Everyone is blaming you.
Yeah, everybody's blaming me, thank you.
So he just told her to shut up. Yikes. Maybe they have a banter with each other that they say stuff like that with. It didn't look that way to me. Certainly Yara didn't take it that way. And are we seeing something more problematic with Jovi? I'm guessing not a lot. I'm guessing a number of you already think of Jovi as a highly problematic person, and maybe he is. He has some signs, of course. But, when you look at this strip club behavior, especially this far into the relationship, in the beginning, it's just like, well, maybe he's still kind of pulling himself out of the single life. That can happen sometimes. Doesn't justify it, but some people need an adjustment period to realize that they're in a committed relationship in their bones, and eschew the influences. Like, it wouldn't be unusual for someone like Jovi to consciously and of sober mind commit to Yara, but then when he gets hammered, particularly with his friends, there's an old tape that starts to play, and then eventually he learns, oh, I need to not hang out with those friends, or not drink anymore, or not drink that much anymore, or not be with those friends in those circumstances, because we end up engaging in that old way of thinking and behaving. And so I need to avoid that, right? So it doesn't justify it, but it does. It's not uncommon. But this far into the relationship and Jovi's still doing this shit, again, it could be shenanigans, but if it's not, then are we seeing that in the same ball of wax of just this general putting down of Yara, this need to be above her, a discounting of her? Did he specifically date someone from another country so that she would be disadvantaged and need him in a lot of ways? Or did he seek a woman from another culture that comes from a more traditional gender culture? I don't know if she does, but I've heard that might be the case. Are we seeing a pattern of need for dominance and for establishing control over someone? I don't know. I mean, there's some indications of that, but I don't know. This could be shenanigans because, the producers are behind the scenes. And they're like, hey, it's the end of the season. And I could absolutely see the producers saying stuff like, look, we don't really have a big dramatic thing. Ed and Jovi haven't come to blows yet. And Kelly left. We were hoping that Kelly and Ed would get into a thing, but that didn't happen. Angela has had her blow up already. She can't blow up all the time. That's asking too much. So what if we pulled the string regarding Jovi? I could see that happening. So I guess we'll see how this pans out. But at the very least, the edit is portraying someone that has been indoctrinated into a point of view that men are superior and that women are inferior, and has been traumatized sufficiently enough that he needs to assert that superiority.
Publicly now, just based on the way that he's treating Yara.
If you're gonna talk to me like that, you're gonna go and married to some stripper, okay? Because if they accept that conversation, I don't accept, okay?
I was trying to talk to Michael.
Can I
Okay?
just say that's the first time I'm hearing you stick up for yourself? I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, sticking up for yourself. Yeah. But I think that I'm more concerned long term, because just sticking up for yourself is absolutely good and moral and right. But does that solve the problem? That's because if anything, if there is a problem with Jovi in this way that I was hypothesizing or something in that area, then he'll just have to dominate and be patriarchal in a different way.
Can you ask Jovi who he was texting last night?
Oh my gosh.
So he was texting with another stripper or the same stripper that they were, I don't know.
Who were you texting last night?
Who you text? What?
Oh my
You've
God.
been text. What?
Some stripper in Jamaica.
Are you serious? What now? Come on, this ain't funny.
So another stripper in Jamaica was who he was texting with. Okay. I mean, Jovi was doing it on camera, so, but I don't know. Well, let's watch.
Please look at me and tell me who you text. Which stripper in Jamaica?
No stripper
The
in
stripper
Jamaica.
who you traveled to Jamaica?
The one he traveled with.
You text the stripper that you've been with her in Jamaica?
I just said, hey, do you live in Key West? And what club do you work at? And that's it.
Right. That's what I thought. He was trying to find a stripper that he knew. I guess that does make it worse when you think about it, right? Just showing up to a strip club is one thing, but trying to find a specific stripper, I mean, well, really, I don't know. In my book, that makes it 100 times worse. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're anything like me, your relationships are very important to you. And really, most of the reason why I make content, and perhaps a lot of the reason why you're here with me today, is to think about your relationships. And you know, evidence shows that strong attachments contribute to all sorts of positive outcomes, like improved well-being or happiness, lowered anxiety, lowered depression, better relationships with your kids. Now, one type of relationship that we're often talking about here is romantic relationships or soulmates. I would say that a huge factor in the success of my relationship with my wife has to do with all the therapy that I've been through. Well, one place you can find a therapist to help with that is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's definitely worth giving a try. So become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
I need to know you didn't give me that chicken vacation.
I was looking.
I know you was liking her. Why would you text her? My gosh, why would you do that?
He wanted her to come out with us and go party. She was at a
Call me out. Holy.
Oh, I mean, it's been a while since I saw that episode, so I don't remember specifically. It's also possible that Ed saw something that happened off camera. And yeah, yikes. Yikes, dude. What is wrong with you? Again, I hope it's shenanigans. I hope it's for the show. Yara doesn't seem to be reacting that way. So, ick.
Why would you do that?
I don't have an answer. I'm sorry.
What is so bad about your relationship that you need to always hang out with a stripper?
Okay, so he's saying, I'm not going to talk. What does that mean? I suppose I just thought of the possibility that he and Yara have an agreement that under certain circumstances they're not going to get into in front of the camera. I mean, that would make sense, right? We, hope that they reveal everything in their relationship as needed in front of the camera, but it would be totally normal for them to have conversations. Okay, don't bring up this topic. It's okay to bring up that topic. If things get to this point, then we agree we're going to shut down the fight and walk away, and we'll talk in private or something. It's possible, and maybe he's shutting down because he's like, hey, we have an agreement, we're not going to talk about it. But the way it looks anyway is not that. It looks like he is just pulling some kind of power move. It could be some overarching gaslighting effort. It could also be coming from, I think we've seen this before. Yes, we have with Jovi, that he has a perspective that, more and more is piling up regarding the evidence that he just is a misogynist, that he actually believes women are lesser and stupid and ridiculous, and might even live in that world in his social circle, in his online activity. And because what I imagine he's thinking right now is, here she goes again, yap, 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 with all of her womanly nagging and her unreasonableness. I don't think I included this, but he was talking earlier about how he loves going to strip clubs, and he tries to not go because, well, Yara, she comes from a traditional background and she doesn't understand that it's just for fun. So that justifies me going because she's unreasonable, she's being ridiculous. So I think he's operating from a place where he's thinking that she's being silly and nagging and ridiculous and completely discountable because, women, and I'm the man, and so I don't have to answer to you. I mean, a few years ago or further back, I wouldn't have put this in the short list of hypotheses, but given what I've seen in the indoctrination of various different cults, including the red pill cult and the manosphere cult, of which I think is just growing more and more every day, I wouldn't put it past someone that looks to act fairly mainstream and normal, but has some complete wackadoo ideas about gender and about marriage and about men's rights, to the point where they would be as severely disconnected from reality as QAnon or flat earthers. So I don't know. At the very least, he is pulling some kind of, he's stonewalling, right? And I think he believes he's in the right. I think he thinks like, well, I'm right here because she's being ridiculous. Whereas anyone with half a brain and not indoctrinated into some sort of cult or not with the insecurities that they have would zoom out a little bit and see that she's being completely reasonable. There's nothing. In fact, I don't know if I showed all the clips, but when they first started bringing up the stripper and the texting, she was actually with a smile asking and open. She didn't pull on Angela and just completely jump down his throat. She gave him a lot of opportunity to, I think, salvage the situation. Like if he would have just turned to her the way that Ed and Liz talk, I guess, if we can use them as a model, and said, well, yeah, I texted this stripper from Jamaica, which, I was just doing this and I'm not going to get together with her or anything. I think if he would have leaned into it, I think that Yara would have been okay. But the fact that he tells her to shut up and he's doing this to her, it's like, why would you trust someone like him given this behavior?
To take the stripper.
Trying to have fun last night, that's it.
To have fun with her?
Not with her.
When
no.
you are married, you
No.
want to have fun with the stripper?
I wanted to have fun with the guys, and that's all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that didn't look staged. It looked like, I don't know why I keep looking for, I guess I just hope there's shenanigans because his behavior is just so weird. I guess a lot of behavior on the show is weird, and thus, but at least with Kalani and Asuelu, there's enough there to point to the reality of the situation. Like with Asuelu's cheating, he doesn't do it on camera. It is revealed on camera, and then they have to deal with it. Whereas anything that happens in front of the cameras, I am suspicious about the motivation. So I think often with them, because it's not like she's catching him having done something prior to filming. He did something last night. He went to a strip club. There were multiple cameras and producers. He was abundantly aware the entire time. Every conversation he had about the strip, it's just like, it just looked staged to some extent. Now, you could argue that he's so far gone that he believes it's funny and it's okay, given the way he thinks about women or about Yara or himself or something. But the way she just splashed him in the face, it did look like he wasn't expecting it. Anyway, now, I don't recommend that people do that. It's putting hands on. It's, at the very least, an invitation for that sort of thing to be okay in a relationship. Does he deserve it? I mean, I think most people would say yes, but there's another way to just stand up and say, like, you disgust me, or I hate you, or I don't know. I guess that could be even more hurtful, or you're a D-bag, or just walk away. I just think it would be, I think it's important that, at least for me, when I'm reacting, that I provide a consistent, threshold for what behavior is okay. If I like someone or I can identify with someone, and yet they do something that by policy I would generally say it's not a good idea for a variety of reasons, and I want to model that, because there's not a lot of, in my experience of the media that I consume, there's not a lot of that. There seemed to be a different set of criteria and guidelines and responsibilities that we hold one group to that we do not hold the other group. Our in-group, anything they do is fine, but the out-group, anything they do is not fine. And so for me, I feel in-grouped with Yara, and Jovi is out-group. If one of the people from my in-group does something that by policy I would comment on as something that I don't recommend, then I want to do that. All right, well, a little reminder, just for my sake, I suppose, if you ever comment below and are referring to something that I said or did, or something that they said or did on the show, if you could include a timestamp, a little link that you can get and put in the comment, because then I, and I suppose others, can, because sometimes I don't read the comments until a few days later and I forget what happened. And so when I read the comment and you're referring to something, unless it's pretty obvious, sometimes if people include that little link, I'll click on it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember what they're referring to. But you know, it's only if you care to. It's a little bit of annoyance to do that. But anyway, everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.